Hello Magic fans, I'm Beef and welcome back to another Duskmourn standard gameplay video, this time featuring a brand new mechanic in survival. And we are playing a, let's say, 2.5 colour deck, because the eagle-eyed among you will see we are playing a black card without any black mana, but we'll get to that in a minute. So, what is survival? Survival is a new mechanic. We can see it on Reluctant Role Model, but it says the survival basically says at the beginning of your second main phase, if that creature is tapped, you get something. So in the case of Reluctant Role Model, if it's tapped to begin your second main phase, you can choose to put either a flying, lifelink, or a +1/+1 counter on it. And then the Reluctant Role Model also has when it dies or another creature you control dies. If it had counters on it, put those counters up to one target creature. So that would include the flying, lifelink, and the +1/+1 counters. And the idea of Reluctant Role Model, you get it tapped, you put that flying counter on it, it's a lot easier to attack, and then you can grow it. The problem with survival is it's a bit like Saddle from Outlaws of Thunder Junction, which we do also have some Saddle mounts in our deck, is it just asks a bit too much. So, for example, a 2-mana 2/2 is frankly crap. You might be able to attack with it on turn 3, but chances are your opponent's going to have a blocker, especially if you're on the draw. So getting that first trigger is really, really hard. And often it doesn't really work. And it seems to be that the way they've costed survival in like the power of the card, it's a bit too high. Some of the survivals are really powerful, we'll get to that as well. So that's why we have saddles in the deck, is so that we can potentially tap survival creatures to get their value without having to attack. So what are our other survival creatures? We only have two. We have 2 copies of Rip Spawn Hunter, and its survival is reveal the top X cards of your library, where X is Rip's power, so by default 4. Then we put a number of creature and or vehicle cards with different powers from among them into your hand. Put the rest in the bottom of your library in a random order. So, we can hit a 2-powered creature, we could hit a 5-powered creature, we could hit a 4-powered creature, and so on and so forth. And our last survival card, which is the most powerful one and the real core of our deck, is Kona. Kona is a 4-mana 4/3, which again isn't great stats, just like Rip's 4-mana 4/4 is a bit better, but the stats aren't fantastic. And its survival is you may put a permanent card from your hand onto the battlefield. Obviously, that is bonkersly powerful, and that is why we are playing 2 copies of Valgavoth, Terror Eater, the main baddie from Duskmourn. Valgavoth is a 9-mana 9/9. If you hold it upside down, it looks like it's 6/6/6, which I'm sure is intentional. Has flying, lifelink, and walled. Sacrifice 3 non-land permanents. That's an incredibly hard wall to pay, and a very painful one to pay. But then its main thing is, if a card you didn't control be put into a great opponent's grave from anywhere, exile instead. During your turn, you may play cards exile with Valgavoth. If you cast a spell this way, pay life equal to its mana value rather than pay its mana cost. So it is Bolus's Citadel on a 9/9 flying lifelink walled. Kind of Bolus's Citadel plays cards on the top of your own library, but it is incredibly powerful, incredibly hard to remove. And that's why the interaction is Kona Valgavoth. You could play a true 3-colour deck, and include things like Phyrexian Fleshgorger and Virtue of Persistence, but I've decided to go mainly green-white just for the mana, and just so Verges I think are really powerful new lands, but I think they struggle in 3-colour decks. So let's quickly go through the rest of our deck. So removal, we have Get Lost, and we have 3 cards Identified Hovership, another new card. It is a 3-mana 2/2 flying vehicle. It says when it enters, exile up to one target creature with toughness 5 or less. When it leaves a battlefield, the exile card's owner Manifest Dread. So Manifest Dread is, look at the top 2 cards of your library, you can put one onto the battlefield face down as a 2/2. If it's a creature, you may turn it face up for its mana cost, and then you put the other card in your graveyard. So importantly, they never get the card exiled with it back, which is powerful. It can take out a lot of things. It can take out Sheldred. It can take out pretty much most things in standard. But also, because it's a vehicle, it has crew 1, meaning anything can crew it. So we can tap our Reluctant Role Model or our Kona or our Rip Spawn to crew it and get the value from it. Then we have 4 copies of Ornery Tumblewag, which we've seen before. 3 mana, 2/2, saddle 2. So again, we can just saddle our survival creatures to get that value. But also, at the beginning of combat in your turn, pay +1/+1 counter on target creature. When ordinary Tumblewag attacks while saddled, double the number of +1/+1 counters on target creature. This is a great way to buff some other creatures as well. Maybe buff our reluctant roll mold if we whacked a lifelink counter on it. We have one copy of Wily Duke. Oh, sorry, I've forgotten Seraphic Steed. Seraphic Steed, a 2 mana 2/2 first strike lifelink. When it attacks while saddled, create a 3/3 white angel creature token with flying. It does have saddle 4, so we can't saddle it with our reluctant roll model straight away. We might be able to later, but we can saddle it with Kona and Rip Spawn Hunter. So yeah, so Wily Duke, a 3 mana 4/2 vigilance. When it becomes tapped, we gain a life and draw a card. Because of that vigilance, it is hard. It's harder to tap it, but obviously any of our mount or saddle synergies can tap it to get that card draw and life gain. And 2 copies of Relics of Legends. Tap to add 1 mana. Tap to add 1 mana of any colour, but more importantly, we can tap an untapped legendary creature we control to add 1 mana of any colour. So we can tap our Wily Duke to draw that card and gain life. We can tap our Kona. We can tap our Rip Spawn Hunter. What I would say, be careful. If you only have, let's say Kona. If you only have Kona on the battlefield and a Relic of Legends, and you want to tap Kona with Relic of Legends, if you can't cast something in your hand, which you may not be able to, Arena will by default skip your turn. I had it in a game that I haven't put in the gameplay where I literally, I think I tapped out for a Kona, and I was like, oh, I'll play Kona, tap it with Relic of Legends, put in a Valgavoth out in my hand, and just skip the turn. So be careful. I just say it's a bit silly that Wizards implemented a mechanic that involves your creatures being tapped at the beginning of the end phase, but then didn't put in stops or things like that. And finally, our final 2 cards are Still Seraph, which is a great and powerful card. It has prototype. We can pay 3 and it comes down as a 3/3, or we can pay its full price for 6 and it comes down as a 5/4. It's a flyer. Beginning of combat on our turn, with target creature you control gains your choice of flying, vigilance, or lifelink. So this is a decent card to cheat in with Kona as well, because we get that full value 5/4. Then 2 copies of Overlord of the Mistmoors, a 7 mana 6/6 with Impending 4, another new mechanic. And it says whenever Overlord or the Mistmoors enters or attacks, create 2/1 white insect creature tokens with flying. Impending 4 means you pay that alternative cost, so in this case 4. It comes down as an enchantment. It is not so it comes down with 4 time counters on it. While it's got time counters on it, it is not a creature, it's just an enchantment. And you remove a time counter at the beginning of your end step, and therefore when you remove that 4th time counter, it becomes a creature. So you get those 2/1 white insect creature tokens when it first comes down, and then later on you can attack with it. And this is a great card to cheat in with Kona because it will come down as a creature. What is interesting about Impending is it's obviously very similar to Suspend. Suspend is basically the same mechanic, but Suspend, the time counter is removed at the beginning of your upkeep, and I don't think there's actually any Suspend creatures. So what this means is, because it's the beginning of your end step, it will turn into a creature for their turn, basically. So if they have creature-based removal, it does have a turn where it can be removed. So just watch out for that. And because it's in enchantment, it can be taken out, say, like Get Lost. Mana base, as you expect, Plains, Forest, Brushland, Hushwood Verges. I do like the new Verges from Duskmourn. So they each tap for 1 colour, and you could tap for a 2nd colour, but only if you control one of those basic lands. So in this case, basic land types. In this case, you can tap for green, but then we can tap for white if we control a forest or a plains, which most likely we will. 2 copies of Lush Portico, which comes into play tapped and surveils 1, but it is a forest and a plains, and then 4 Razor Verge Thickets. So that's the deck. The weakness with Survivors is, I think, a bit of an issue. As I said, it is the same as Saddle when that came out. There's not enough of them to get a real good choice of them, and attacking with a 2 mana 2/2 on turn 3 is going to be painful. But when this combo goes off, boy howdy, it goes off really, really well, because Valgavoth is just absolutely bonkers. So that's the deck. I really hope you enjoy it. If you do, please remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you all in my gameplay. Well, we're on the draw. Could do with a 3rd land. Oh, there it is. I imagine all our creatures are going to get removed. Deep Cavern Bat. Oh no. Well, again, we have the thing. Relic of Legends into Kona. Tap Kona. Overlord. Or, better yet, Valgavoth. Right, let's go full control again. I mean, they do have the 3 non-land permanents. So we play the Hovership. Let's take out Aclazots. Let's and we can give Valgavoth Vigilance and swing in. And then we'll cheat in an Overlord. And we can use the Steel Seraph to give the Overlord flying. Another Aclazots. Not the end of the world. Yeah, draw just a land. Well, let's give the Overlord flying. And guess what? That's our Overlord now. Our Aclazots now. Yep. Valgavoth is quite powerful. On the draw, with an okay hand. This is not the fastest, but we can role model then Tumblewag to hopefully be able to tap our role model. And hopefully we can draw something big for Kona to hit and a 4th land. Turn it down a smidge. Our opponent is taking their time. Well, there's something big for Kona to hit. Are they mono regs? Mono red without turn 1 play is a bit weird, but they could have Slick Shot show off. Yeah, they do, and they've plotted it. So you still like that 4th land. See, we won't block. Do they have a shock anyway? Do they have the buff spell? They do. A new one, turn inside out. So we take 9. And there's the land. So if we survive... which is obviously no guarantee... we can get down Valgavoth. I'll keep the role model back on defense. Right. Saddle with Kona. And I am actually going to attack with the role model. Let's give the role model lifelink and let's put in Valgavoth. Obviously, they won't be able to take out Valgavoth. The ward, sacrifice 3 non-land permanents. Well, I suppose they do have black mana, but obviously these kind of decks don't run go for or anything like that, and they have to take out their entire board to do so. And yeah, our opponent sees the futility of carrying on, basically. Baywatch Cura. Well, we have an okay hand. We have ways to tap our creatures. Hopefully we can get our fourth land. Oh, there's a fourth land. Oh, good. Tiny bones. So next turn we can get down Kona and you know what, I'm just going to get down Rip. Okay, so they didn't have any removal. We did whiff a bit. Take out Sheldred. So Rip and Kona work well together because you can do the stack the triggers so that you get Rips first. Well, that's annoying, but that's pretty good. Yeah, you can stack Rip's trigger so that first, so you can find a creature. Hopefully, well, you get a better look at creatures, and then obviously you can put the permanent into play with Kona. So if we hit Valgavoth there, well, they wiped the board, so it wouldn't have made much difference. But you can see that interaction. Well, we're on the play. Reluctant role model into Hovership means we can put counters on the role model, assuming it survives. which obviously it won't. I'm going to play out the Steed then. We can't saddle the role model with the Steed. Well, there's the Beastie. Well, so take out their creature, and we don't actually need to saddle the role model now. We can just attack normally. And I will put a flying counter on it. So hopefully we're going to be able to do the thing. Just don't take out our rescue Beastie. So we will put a lifelink counter on this, but it shouldn't matter because we've got a 9/9 lifelinker onto the battlefield now that has an incredibly powerful ward. Sacrifice 3 non-land permanents. Obviously, they don't get their Blazing Crescendo. Yeah, going through the motions a bit. I would have happily let them hit me because, well, I was going to attack him with a 9/9 lifelinker and a 2/2 lifelinker next turn as well. On the play, well, we actually have, we just need one more land, but we have a lot of what we need. Against blue-white. Oh good, so control, which is really what we wanted to see. This is going to get countered, isn't it? Yeah. That makes it harder for us to do what we need to do. Only having one white mana as well means we can't impede the Overlord. You either have a counter or you don't. I'm not sure why that took that long. Or we can get lost there, Baser. Or do we use this opportunity to get down Kona? I want to get lost there, Baser, and then we can give our reluctant role model flying so it can get over a future baser. Just need now a way to tap Kona. Well, I'm going to give it lifelink. And I'm going to get down Kona while the coast is clear. And then hopefully if we draw one of our saddle effects. That's... We know they binned... Okay, that's why. Well, let's impend our Overlord. And next turn we can maybe, if we draw a land, Tumblewag and Wily Duke. Well, that is not a land, but we can double Tumblewag. Oh no, we can't. Obviously. I expect this to be counted. Or not. They must have more sweepers. No! We had more cards in hand than the control deck, and they actually... They cast one No More Lies, they binned a Spellgyre, or Spellgyre. They had two Basers and a Sunfall, and that was it. That was not the most effective control deck, and also we were not far away from being able to cheat in Valgavoth again. On the play, we've got no action, but I don't want to mulligan. Let's give our Seraphic Steed vigilance. Suppose they could have had a cut down. Suppose with a Relic of Legends, it is possible to us to play Valgavoth. Obviously, highly unlikely. Let's buff up our steed. Well, that doesn't get rid of our Tumblewag. I would like something, you know, decent. Well, that's pretty good. What we can do is we give our Tumblewag flying, put a +1/+1 counter on the steed, swinging with both, double the counters on the steed. It's now got first strike, so it can take out the Preacher. They're down to 3. And now everything we've got is not necessarily lethal now. But yeah, we put the counter on the Steel Seraph this time. And we can even, yeah, we could saddle the Tumblewag with our Seraphic Steed, put the counter on the Steel Seraph, double it up to, which would make it 7 powered. Obviously, they don't have anything with flying, and we can even give the Tumblewag flying again so it can attack. Wow. Do we risk it and hope they're just all creatures? Well, they're ramping. We have the Relic of Legends Kona combo. We just need something to cheat into play with it. Love to draw Valgavoth or an Overlord. And obviously hope they don't have a... well, counterspell is not relevant now. Come on, something big. Well, we drew the big thing as well. So at least hopefully we can do it next turn. I wonder if they're a Smuggler Surprise type deck. Obviously, Splunking calls in to come into play untapped. Or if they could have the Worm, Sandworm, Colossal Sandworm, I think it's called. If you control a desert, you can flash it in. Could have Bonnie Powell. Well, they have a lot of mana. They have a lot less mana now. So we should be able to do the thing. Right, I'm going to go full control. The reason being is, in a game that I played before, but I didn't end up recording, I had Kona, I had a Relic of Legends, I had Valgavoth, but because I couldn't cast anything, it just went straight to, it just skipped my rest of my turn. So like Magic, you've implemented a feature that, you know, you get things from having things tapped at the beginning of your end step, second main. Why put in an auto skip? I wonder if they'll change it. Like when they Shoulder was first released in Arena, there was never that stop at the opposition players' upkeep, whereas they put a stop in to allow you to more easily take out Shoulder before your draw step. Well, that's going to be quite big. $12-12. Good thing we have 3 Get Losts in hand. I was just going to tap down our Overlord. Yeah, that's... And the Dream Enchanters have reach. Would quite like to draw some non-lands, please. Our other Overlord would be nice. Valgavoth would be really good. I suppose anything that's not a land. Do they just ping us to death? Yeah. We just drew too many lands.